Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to the Touch of Class Show, episode 15 today. Today's weather, not looking that bad. I hope everyone got a chance to go outside yesterday and enjoy that absolutely stunning weather we had. We had opening day baseball, we had some tennis, we had some international games. Just an amazing day all around. Last night, I actually went with my girlfriend and her friend, and we saw Project Hail Mary. Now, that movie was absolutely stunning, incredible. It had some of the best visuals I've ever seen in a movie in my entire life. There's something wrong with my eye. It's currently allergy season, and I have terrible allergies. But nothing is going to stop the show from motoring on. I hope everyone is excited for the weekend. We got some incredible stuff coming up between tennis, between footy, some college basketball, even. But as for today's show's agenda, we've got the Miami Open recap. And then we're going to look at the international games, look at what occurred yesterday with the qualifiers, some big news there. And then something a little bit different, which I haven't done before, but we are going to be looking at some transfer rumors and some managerial moves that are on the way. If you are excited, definitely hop in the chat. Let me know some comments on what you think about some of the latest results in international football and in tennis. But without further ado, let's just get right into it with the Miami Open. We had the round of 16 and quarterfinals happen over these past couple of days. Let's get it started in the quarterfinals. Good morning, Schultes. How we doing? Nice little cup of Joe to start off the morning. Nothing better. First match we're going to cover is Seb Korda versus Martin Landaluce, the Spanish qualifier. And it's Landaluce who wins 2-6, 7-6, 6-4. Korda, who had previously taken out Alvarez, was facing another Spaniard, except this result didn't exactly go the way that he would have wanted it to. After defeating Carlos Alcaraz, you have to feel like you're on top of the world. And then in the very next round to lose to a qualifier, that's got to be pretty humbling pretty quick. So he found out what happens when you get a bit too overconfident. Next match, we had Jiri Lehecka versus Taylor Fritz. And it's Lehecka who takes down Fritz 6-4, 6-7, 6-2. Now, being an American, I love Taylor Fritz. I think that his game is fun. He's got a massive serve. He just hasn't been at a very healthy point of his career. We saw in Australia, he had some knee problems. It looks like that's continued on through into Indian Wells and into now the Miami Open. Unfortunately for him, he has already withdrawn from the Monte Carlo Open in just a couple of weeks, and it looks like some reoccurring injuries are coming back to bite him. I'm hoping that he's not out for too long. I'm hoping that he can, well, one, play in some of the other Masters 1000 coming up, such as Madrid and Rome, but also to play in the Roland Garros in France. That would be a really big miss if he's unable to play there. We don't know what the injury is. It wasn't disclosed. I'm assuming it's a knee injury because that's what he's been dealing with. But if it's something else, then that is definitely a big blow for him. But that set up a quarterfinal matchup between Martin Landaluce and Jiri Lehecka. And the Spanish qualifier put up an incredible fight. It is ultimately Lehecka who wins and moves on 7-6, 7-5, but to take a top player to a tiebreak and then to lose after bringing it to 5-5 is always a good feat. That's always Very promising. Losing in the quarterfinals as a qualifier is huge. He's going to get a lot of points for this tournament. And honestly, that should get him into the main draws, the round of 128, for most of the Grand Slams for the rest of the year. It's these Masters 1000 stories that you hear about from these qualifiers that really just put a smile on your face because it changes their whole season. They go from begging to get into a Masters 1000 tournament, maybe competing at only the ATP 250 level, to now being in the main draw of Grand Slams and giving themselves a chance to really showcase their talent. Awesome stuff from Landaluce, but Lehecka competes in his first semifinal Masters 1000 since Madrid in 2024, and this is actually only his second ever Masters 1000 semifinal. So big news for him, and we will be seeing who he's facing in the semifinal shortly. Next set of matches were Thomas Martin Etcheverry versus Tommy Paul. The American gets it done in this one, winning 6-1, 6-3, and Tommy absolutely battered Etcheverry. There's not really any other way to put it. I mean, he just utterly dominated this match, winning 6-1, multiple breaks, then winning 6-3. He moved through that round of 16 with ease and moved into the quarterfinal with ease. Then we had Arthur Fils versus Valentin Vacherot. And let me first start by saying Arthur Fils and his new haircut, arguably some of the most aura on tour. I mean, this dude is styling. It is so cool to see. He's playing with confidence. He actually did an interview after that round of 16 win with the Tennis Channel while Jannik was playing. And usually I hate the mid-match interviews because it just takes away from the tennis you're watching. Feels like something that can be done after the matches. But I digress. Fils seems like such an awesome dude. He has charisma. He's very polite. He believes in himself. He believes in his game. And it's exactly what you want to see out of a professional athlete who competes in a sport alone. He also then goes on to talk about his new haircut and who he got the inspiration from. He talked about some of the great basketball players like Michael Jordan, like Kobe Bryant, but it's Allen Iverson who he decides to model his hair after, and he's nailed it to a T, to be honest. And I think from now on, when he wins a match, he's got to start doing the AI step over celebration because that would be super cool. But Fils faced off versus Valentin Vacherot. He took him down 6-4, 7-6, 6-4. He's playing some unbelievable tennis at the moment. And there's not really much point talking about this match because the quarterfinal match versus Tommy Paul was so good. So let's just get right into that. This was truly one of the matches of the season so far. The other matches that I would put it up in ranks with are the Sinner versus Djokovic semifinal in Australia and the Draper versus Djokovic, I believe it was semifinal at Indian Wells, or no, it might have been quarterfinal at Indian Wells. Both of those matches were unbelievable. You had Djokovic battling even at the ripe age of 38. He's still getting it done on court. But this one was about the young gun, Arthur Fils, who defeats Tommy Paul 6-7, 7-6, 7-6. That is correct. It went to 3 tiebreak sets out of a possible 3, which is just box office tennis. No breaks of serve in the entire match, just holding serve, going to a tie break, and then battling it out in the first to 7. What more could you possibly want? You got to give credit for Tommy Paul for reaching another quarterfinal in a Masters 1000. Great stuff from him. Yeah, a lot of 6-7. A lot of 7-6 and a lot of 6-7. It's so unfortunate that that meme became a meme because that is such a frequent score when talking about tennis. Just wait till Gen Z finds out about that. I guess I technically would be Gen Z. What is the newest generation? That's the more interesting thought. Gen Alpha? Yeah, wait till they start watching more tennis and they see 6-7 come up on the scorecard. They're going to freak out. Unless that's not cool anymore, because you know how quickly trends change. Anyway, it was Arthur Fields who was playing magnificent tennis and deserves the credit. Again, Tommy Paul, awesome, another quarterfinal. That'll help his rankings. I didn't even think he was defending any points here, or not many. But Tommy Paul takes that first set in a tiebreak, which is backbreaking as a player, because you get all the way there and to lose in a tiebreak when you think you had a chance, it's just so difficult. And then you go to another tiebreak in the second set. The mental fortitude that Fields shows to stay focused in a time where you know that you're at your wit's end here. No one's breaking each other's serve. It's right down to the tiebreak. It's just the first to 7, and Fields locked in for that second set, and we're heading to a third set. And both of these players looked absolutely gassed by the end of the match. I think every time they panned to Fields, it looked like he had just jumped into a pool because his shirt was that form-fitting. You know when you get absolutely soaked and the shirt just kind of sticks to you? That's exactly what he looked like. He must have gone through 4 shirts in that match. But it goes to the tiebreak in set 3, and Tommy Paul just starts dominating. He gets it to 6-2, 1 point away from the match. Fields is dealing with 4 straight match points. And it was at that point when Tommy Paul just mentally collapsed. A super unfortunate showing from him. Arthur Fields wins 6 straight points to take the set and to take the match 8-6 in the tiebreak to make the score 7-6. And Fields is into his first ever Masters 1000 semifinal. This kid is just having such a good start to 2026. He made it to the quarterfinals of the Indian Wells, now the semifinals of the Miami Open, and he's only looking to improve. I think his game is going to be unstoppable on clay, especially with how much spin he puts on the ball. Super excited for him. And Fields will face Lehecka in the semifinals. Next bunch of matches, we have Humbert versus Francisco Cerundolo. And Cerundolo took this one in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3. Nothing too crazy. Both held serve. Cerundolo broke once in each set. And a really big bounce back from him after going out pretty early in Indian Wells to Jack Draper, losing in the round of 32. But now he finds himself in the quarterfinal, facing the winner of the round of 16, Quentin Halys versus Sasha Zverev. Zverev takes it in straight sets as well. Not easy, though. 7-6, 7-6. It's nice to see players not making it easy on these top opponents, but ultimately it is Sasha Zverev who moves into the quarterfinal to take on Francisco Cerundolo. A very interesting match. But it was Sasha Zverev late last night who just dominated. There's no other way to put this. 6-1, 6-2. Cerundolo didn't have a hope or a prayer. I'm actually kind of curious some of the stats on that match from last night because that just wasn't even close. Let's take a quick peek at Zverev's serve percentage and some of the other stats involved. Let's see. Oh, cool. The ATP does not have the required data for this match yet. So, we're just going to assume that Zverev was serving over 70%, as he usually does, probably closer to 72, 73%. And that Cerundolo just completely collapsed. I actually was unable to watch. I was at the movies, like I had previously stated. But it is Sasha Zverev who will be taking on the winner of Jannik Sinner, Alex Michelsen, Terence Atmane, and Frances Tiafoe. Terence Atmane versus Frances Tiafoe. This match was kind of all over the place. 6-4, 1-6, 6-4 in favor of Frances Tiafoe. I don't know what happened in that second set. I can't tell if maybe he just kind of forfeited the set, just kind of gave in, or if Atmane was really just playing that well in the second set. I mean, to lose it 6-1, that's non-competition. That's multiple breaks of serve. But it is Tiafoe who moves on to the next round after breaking only once in the first and third sets. Very weird match. But you got to give credit to Atmane. He's been playing exceptionally well in 2026. He's already won, I believe he won the Delray Beach Open, the ATP 250. He went decently far in Indian Wells, and now he had made it to the round of 16 at the Miami Open. So a promising start to the year for him. But Tiafoe with a much-needed win here. Tiafoe's actually been seeing a bit of a decent start to his season as well. He made it to the finals of the Merida Open in Mexico, I believe it was, when he lost to Flavio Caboli. Now he's heading into the quarterfinals of the Miami Open and will face the winner of Jannik Sinner versus Alex Michelsen. Spoiler alert, it was Jannik Sinner. Jannik Sinner took down Alex Michelsen. I actually forgot to put the score up here, but I know it wasn't close. It was not close at all. I think it was 6. I think it was it 7-6, 7-5? Let's see. This is great preparation from myself, I must say. 7-5, 7-6 in favor of Jannik Sinner. That first set, Jannik only had one break, and it was relatively late on that he was able to get that break. And in that second set, things started to look bleak for Jannik. He was on a 29-set win streak. He currently has the record, and for someone that's in bad form, to beat Novak Djokovic's set record of 24 straight hardcore sets in Masters 1000 tournaments by 5 and to continue it is just unbelievable. 30 straight sets on hardcore in Masters 1000 tournaments that Jannik Sinner has won. For someone, again, in bad form, that's unbelievable from him. But Michelsen had a chance. He broke him, I believe, to make it 4-3 in the match, and then was serving, needed to hold to make it 5-3, if I remember correctly. And at that point in time, when you're Michelsen, you just need to slow your breathing down, lock in, and do what you've been doing. Decides to change up his serve. I don't know if that was a coaching thing, if that was a him thing, but instead of going for a bigger, more flat serve, he was trying to do these kick serves out to the side and generate a lot of spin, put Sinner off of it. Sinner was just backing up on the ball, giving himself more time to return, and Michelsen stood no chance. Jannik broke right back to make it 4-4. Then he held his serve to make it 5-4. There were no other breaks the rest of that set, and it was Sinner who won it in the tiebreak. Unfortunate from Michelsen. Good tournament, though, from him, making it to the round of 16. It was always going to be tough to beat Jannik, especially with the form he's in right now. But then we had, in the quarterfinals, Jannik Sinner face Frances Tiafoe early in the day yesterday. Again, non-competition. I mean, Sinner is just playing such dominant tennis at the moment. He takes down Tiafoe 6-2, 6-2, multiple breaks of serve in each set. He is an absolute machine right now. Ever since that Australia, well, I guess no. Ever since he lost to Jakub Mensik in the quarterfinals of the Doha Qatar Open, which was only an ATP 500, he has just decided to lock in. You know, he had the tough defeat in Australia to Djokovic when he was up 2-1 in the match. Then he loses to Jakub Mensik, an up-and-coming younger player, and you think Jannik Sinner's just off it right now. He's just going to have kind of a down year. No, he goes and wins Indian Wells, and now he looks on pace to win the Miami Open, complete the Sunshine Double, something that hasn't happened since 2007 when Roger Federer did it. And for anyone else, that would be a miraculous season, but Jannik's standards are just so much higher. I'm excited for him to go into the next round. Let's go into the semifinal predictions. First, we have Fields taking on Lehecka, and I think it's going to be Fields because the young lad is just playing phenomenal tennis. He's so motivated, and he just doesn't seem like a man that's going to be defeated. He keeps referencing the term Gabos, G-A-B-O-S, and I forget what exactly it means. He would say it to his dad. This is some great podcasting today, I gotta say, you know? Super prepared. Game ain't based on sympathy. Explaining that you're not going to get sympathy from anyone. You just have to lock in yourself because that's all you got out there. And that's what Fields' motto is, and it seems to be working for him so far. So give me Fields to make his first ever Masters 1000 final and take on the winner of Sinner versus Zverev. I do think we're going to see a repeat of the Indian Wells semifinal. I think Sinner is going to defeat Zverev just because, again, the level he's playing at the moment is just so high. And I don't think Zverev can compete with him rarely ever, but especially not at this level. Jannik is also diversifying his game a whole lot. I actually released a video on this a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen that, definitely go check it out. I talk about how he needs to play with more creativity. That was one of the points that I mentioned. And in this Sunshine Double, you've seen him incorporate the drop shot a lot more, something that was lacking in his game. He pulled it out, but it wasn't something that he could go to if he needed it. He would kind of use it in a more panic situation, like, oh, I should probably use a drop shot. I haven't used one in a while. Now it's more natural. It feels good for him. You even saw the Tennis Channel quote tweet one of his videos from this tournament where he hits a drop shot and they qualify it as a perfect drop shot, something that you would only see from Carlos Alcaraz. So Jannik Sinner adding that to his arsenal of just pure baseline power and dominance with the forehand and backhand is some scary stuff for the rest of the tour. In a final with Sinner and Fields, I think that's going to be magic. I think that is a 3-setter guaranteed. I think Fields will be the first person to take a set off of Jannik Sinner, ending his streak. But I do think it is going to be Sinner who ultimately takes down Fields, winning the Miami Open and gaining more ground on Carlos Alcaraz as he looks to get back to the world number 1. Now that's everything we had on tennis. A super exciting week in the Miami Open. But now it's time to move on to some footy. And some footy on the international side, as it is the international break currently in football. We have World Cup qualifiers. Now, Because the World Cup is so big this year, we have 48 teams, the largest to date. There are a lot of teams that are still competing to get in. And some of these matches were bonkers. Some stunning results. Yesterday, we had Turkey versus Romania kicking us off. Turkey in a 1-0 win over the Romanians. They will be extremely pleased with that result. Then we had the Czech Republic take on Ireland, and this match was 2-2. Went all the way to penalties. We had goals from Patrick Schick. We had goals from Parrott. Matej Kovar had an own goal for the Czech Republic. And Krejci. These names are going to be so hard to pronounce. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to read all of them out. These names are going to be so hard to pronounce in this international sequence. But it's Czech Republic who ultimately wins and sees a much-needed result for their hopes of qualifying for the World Cup. Next, we had Denmark facing off against North Macedonia, and it was not to be for the North Macedonians. They had their illustrious run at, Euro 2021, maybe? That was supposed to be Euro 2020, maybe that summer, I can't remember. But North Macedonia was a bit of a Cinderella in that tournament. They won a few games that were pretty unexpected. That's an alarm that I usually have to move my car. But it was Denmark who wins 4-0 in this one. Goals from Damsgaard, Isaksen, and Norgard to take all of the points and move on. Then we had Italy facing off versus Northern Ireland, and the Italians need to get in the World Cup. What an embarrassment that would be if they miss back-to-back World Cups. A nation that is so driven in football and has such historical roots in football. My own blood, Italians, you got to figure it out. Need to be in the World Cup. And once you're there, we need to start playing better. We need to start competing. But obviously, being from the United States, I will be rooting for the United States in the World Cup. But it would be nice to see some results out of Italy and Germany. Unfortunately for the Irish, it was not meant to be. Next, we had Poland playing Albania, and it's Poland who wins 2-1. Lewandowski and Zielinski on the score sheet for Poland, and it's Hoxha for Albania who gets them the lone goal. He actually opened the scoring in the 42nd minute, which is pretty stunning stuff, just unable to hold on against the Polish side. Next, we have Slovakia versus Kosovo, and what an interesting result we had in this one. It's actually Kosovo who takes down Slovakia 4-3. A stunner. An absolute stunner in this one. We had goals for Kosovo from Hutsa, Aslani, Muslija, and Hajrizi. These names are throwing me through a spiral here. For Slovakia, we had goals from Valiant, Haralsin, and Sterlek. Unfortunate for them, but it's Kosovo who continues on in the qualifiers. Then we had Ukraine facing Sweden, and you back Sweden to win this one. I mean, they do have more of that superstar talent. They've got the main man leading Arsenal to the title, Victor Gyökeres, and he actually nets a hat trick in this one, only scoring one pen. I haven't seen any of the goals from that one, but stunning stuff from one of the Arsenal's talisman, Victor Gyökeres, as they defeat Ukraine. Ponomarenko, the lone goal scorer for Ukraine, a bit of a consolation goal in the 90th minute for them. Final match, we had Bosnia versus Wales. Daniel James scored an absolute stunner, by the way, if you hadn't seen that goal. Picks the ball up at roughly midfield, drives, and then just rifles it near post past the Bosnian goalkeeper. And then is that Edin Dzeko? Or is that a younger Dzeko? It is Edin Dzeko. Man, how old is he now? He's got to be 36 or so. Let's do a quick fact check on Edin Dzeko. 40 years old, and he's still getting it done. Former Manchester City player Edin Dzeko still playing at the top level and advances his side Bosnia in penalties over the Welshman. Then we had a few other matches between Bolivia and Suriname. Bolivia takes that one 2-1, and New Caledonia versus Jamaica. Jamaica wins that 1-0. Also, some international friendlies of note. We had France taking on Brazil, and the French win this one 2-1. Colombia versus Croatia. Croatia wins it 2-1. And that's really all we have for the international side. Games of note. There were some other games, but we're not going to really be covering Chile taking down Cape Verde 4-2. Not the most exciting of matchups. But we will move on to, however, something that we haven't done on the show before. We're going to be doing a lot more of it this summer, especially as there's not going to be much soccer after the World Cup. We will be diving more into transfer news, transfer speculation, and managerial updates. Starting with some transfer news, and let me tell you, some of these are spicy. Some of these will get you perked up. Not in that sense. We're talking about getting you excited. Not on perks. That sounds bad. Let's get right into it with Arsenal. Arsenal obviously looking to bolster that left wing position as it's been a bit downtrodden this year with Martinelli and Trossard. Not really either of them fighting to secure that number one spot. And apparently they're looking at two big players. One of them being Kvaratskhelia out of Paris Saint-Germain, and if they're able to lure him from the previous Champions League winners, PSG, then that Arsenal attack is going to be absolutely terrifying. I don't even want to think about them getting Kvaratskhelia because it would be so scary. They're also looking at Anthony Gordon from Newcastle, which I think would be a fantastic signing. I actually rate him very highly. I think he's incredible at not only creating chances, but also just creating space for his other players. For example, Lewis Hall at the left back position. He has worked so well with him. They've created a great partnership, and I just really rate Anthony Gordon. I think he's incredible. And I think that once Arsenal figure out that left wing position, they're going to raise even to the next level. I think that this year, maybe something that's held them back in terms of the open play category has been that left wing position, just because you're not going to say that Trossard or Martinelli are really world class. They're okay Premier League players, but not someone you want leading a title challenging side or Champions League challenging side. Now they're also apparently looking at a midfielder with names Tonali and Camavinga being thrown around. Both would be absolutely stunning signings. I'm not sure how that midfield would look. Maybe it's for rotational purposes, but if you're buying Tonali, you're buying him to start. And I guess you just drop Zubamendi at that point and he becomes death. But then Christian Norgard, what happens to him? Some interesting decisions to be made for Arsenal. But imagine a midfield of Tonali, Declan Rice, and Odegaard. That's scary stuff. You got to be honest. That's super scary stuff. Camavinga also I think would be a fantastic signing. Unfortunate time at Real Madrid. But, sometimes you just got to move on to a new place. And if he does and he comes to the Premier League, that'll be really exciting. I always rated him. Now, Manchester United are also looking to bolster that center midfield position to look for a partner to play alongside Kobe Mainu, a replacement of Casemiro, if you will, with strong interest in Tonali, again, a similar target to Arsenal, Elliot Anderson, and Carlos Baliba. I think as of right now, we're looking for two midfielders. If we sell Ugarte, then we'll probably get a third. But any combination of Tonali and Baliba or Anderson and Baliba, and then maybe a third signing like a João Gomez or a Tyler Adams, I think would be brilliant business for Manchester United. There's also talks of a new left back, and again, if you're just looking at Premier League proven talent, you got to go with Lewis Hall. Newcastle will be out of Europe next season, and some of their bigger players will be getting poached. That's just unfortunately the way the Premier League works. Fans might not want to hear that, the Geordies, but that's just ultimately how it goes. Liverpool looking at Camavinga in the midfield as well, apparently looking for a left winger as well. Anthony Gordon being mentioned there. I'm not sure if they'll go back in for Rodrigo. There was interest there last summer. Let's see what happens with that. Apparently, well, we'll wait for the managerial section to talk about what's going on with Arne Slot, because I find that very interesting. Chelsea are insisting that Enzo Fernandez is not for sale, but apparently he seems to be a bit disgruntled at the moment as they crash out of the Champions League. They've lost 4 in a row, and I really do think that if Real Madrid come knocking or a PSG come knocking, then Enzo Fernandez will force his way out the door. As for Manchester City, you honestly never know what's going on with City, because they might not be in for anyone on the Thursday, and then on the Sunday they're signing some huge name like an Elliot Anderson. They definitely will be looking at Elliot Anderson. I think Fabrizio Romano said they're in advanced talks with him, and they're going to pursue him very heavy, as they did in January. They weren't able to get the move done then, but they will be looking to get it finalized this summer. As for some managerial moves, we have Tottenham, who are just bad. There's no other way to describe them right now. They're just bad. They're rotten to the core. They are failing as a club. They might go down, but they also might not. If they stay up, it'll be much needed. They'll be able to restore a bit of hope in the club. Maybe they won't lose as many players, but it's not looking good for them. They're playing such bad football at the moment. Tudor might be replaced soon because he's been that bad. An interim getting sacked after only a few games is never what you want to hear. They're looking to replace him with Addy Hutter or Chris Houghton. It's a bit confusing why they're even thinking of candidates. Just go grab an ex-player, make him the manager, try to restore some of the Tottenham spirit, whatever that is, because they haven't won much, but at least get someone in that can motivate these players to stay in the Premier League, and then go worry about a permanent hire after that. I guess it's tough, though, to really figure out a permanent hire, because you don't know if you're going to be relegated or not for Tottenham's purposes, and that's a scary thing. As for Chelsea, Liam Rosenior is under some serious pressure after crashing out of the UCL. They've, again, lost 4 matches straight. I think he'll be fine, because if Chelsea sack him, who is going to want the Chelsea job? It's a little bit what's going on at Manchester United. Manchester United at the start of the season saying they were going to back Ruben Amorim, saying they were going to give him 3 years, saying that they were going to focus on building the squad with him, and then next thing you know, 6 months later, he's gone. These clubs are not realizing that if you try to commit to a manager and their process, if you just sack them within the first 6 months, then what manager is going to go into that club with confidence and think, oh yeah, I can turn this around? Because any bad string of results these days and you're gone. So I think that Liam Rosier will be okay, just because I don't think that Chelsea can act that rash. Newcastle's Eddie Howe also on the hot seat for the same reasons as Liam Rosier. I mean, Newcastle crashed out of the Champions League, and Sunderland actually completed the double over Newcastle this season. One of the biggest derbies in all of Europe, massive rivals, and the Englishman might be on the way out of the door of St. James Park this summer. He's been trying to build something over the past few years. They've gone in and out of the Champions League. They haven't been able to spend as much as they would have wanted to because of financial fair play reasons, but you hope the best for him and Newcastle going forward. It's been good fun to see them playing good football. And finally, Manchester United have narrowed their search to 3 names: Luis Enrique, Julian Nagelsmann, and Michael Carrick. My first choice would be Enrique, obviously, just because of what he's done with PSG. They are playing free-flowing, attacking football, and that's what Manchester United needs. That's what we've been all about throughout our history: free-flowing, attacking football. I would love him. If not him, then Nagelsmann, because at least he has big club experience. He's the current coach of Germany as well. Even if he was fired from Bayern, he still won the league there. Bayern just have an unrealistic expectation that they should be in the Champions League semifinals minimum every year. And I guess with company, they've got that higher right, and they probably will be this year. But I would love Nagelsmann. And then if it's not either of those two, it's got to be Michael Carrick, just because I think Carrick's better than the rest of the other options. I don't think Carrick is necessarily best in class, but he's better than the rest. And I guess quickly to touch on Liverpool, apparently David Ornstein has said that they have no plans of sacking Arne Slot at the end of the season, and they're going to invest in the project, which would blow my mind. They have spent $460 million on this lad, and they might spend another $250 million, bringing that total to almost $700 million in 2 summers. Bold move from Liverpool if they stick with Slot. I don't think it's the right choice, but hey, what do I know? I'm unqualified to speak on things like this. I just like to give my opinion because it's fun. Well, that's all that I have for today's show. I want to thank everyone for watching. We've got some excellent tennis coming up this weekend. We've got some excellent sporting events coming up this weekend, for that matter. Please leave a like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment down below who you think is going to take the Miami Open, and maybe what you think of some of this transfer and managerial speculation. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll